So I wanted to transition a little bit and talk about intellectual property, because it seems like that's one way in which all these business models, which in many instances have parallels in other industries, but one of the ways in which it's very much connected with, they are very much connected with the gaming space. So Esteban, it sounded like when you were introducing yourself, the first 12 games, I believe, were work for hire. So you guys didn't have any intellectual property around except for maybe tools and things like that, correct? And then building off of that, you were able to develop Assault Heroes, and it sounded like you were suggesting that that was part of the reason that you were able to leverage that into the acquisition. Is that right? Or how much of a part do you think that played? I'm trying to get at the kind of how you and other people on the panel value intellectual property and how that affects business decisions within your business.
Well, definitely, I mean, if you look at this business from private companies such as what Monaco is to publicly traded companies, definitely most of the value is on the intellectual property and basically on franchises. You know, games, unlike many times movies or other media, generally sequels do better than the prequel, and you can have lots of them and leverage brands very, very well and very effectively throughout the years. There's some areas where that's more significant than others, such as sports, but overall, you know, fans, as you all know, are very loyal to brands and very loyal to games, and generally sequels do very, very well. So at the end of the day, the business that provides the most upside for either developers or publishers is owning brands and having a successful brand. Generally, the market, you can have brands that are licensed because they come from other media or like in sports, and for original IP, generally the new brands that try to, that publishers and developers try to establish and to make successful in the industry every year, only a very small percentage of them actually become successful. And that's sort of the big secret and the big objective for everyone in the industry. For us, it's always been an objective, but it was in a way an afterthought of, we didn't want to, as independent developers, we didn't want to push it. We knew that we had to let the company mature. We positioned ourselves more like as a service company as opposed to a product company. We were not pushing a specific idea or a specific product, but more a company as a great sort of development partner for the publishers, for the worldwide publishers. Yep.
Keith?
The value of brands almost goes without stating. We're an active licensee. For other folks, we like using their brands. It's a great way to tell our own story. We do develop individual IP, but a lot of that is about explaining what it is that can be done to the people who we want to partner with. And like I said, brands are really valuable. It's very difficult to develop a business model that says we will make successful franchises, because you're going to have a lot of stickers along the way. So,
what are some of the you mentioned History Channel, but what are some of the other brands you've worked with?
3 products that we're announcing in the next couple weeks. So it's a lot of television properties that you would know if you watch TV. What we were able to do over the course of the last few years, because we had to explain what was episodic games, why was it different, why was it worthwhile for these guys to be involved in, is there a market? And so we did that on the backs of original IP. Kuma War, Dino Hunters, were our first 2 properties, and they've done a couple million downloads at this point. Mm-hmm. So you can get out there and tell the story, but there's nothing quite as powerful, as getting out there with a brand that everybody already knows, and then you're seeing it in a new way, and it really helps you explain what your model is.
Mm-hmm. Robert, do you want to comment on that?
On IP, I would mirror the same comments. I mean, it's incredibly valuable. It's really a franchise or build your franchise or license, to release products. I mean, there's a lot of criticism in the industry. Well, why aren't publishers, why aren't developers developing new IP, some new creative products, or wouldn't this be a great game idea? And what people don't realize is much as has been said, is that to launch a new IP requires a tremendous amount of development dollars to make the game right. You've got to fund it at a level that makes it kind of credible, and then equal amount of marketing dollars, sales dollars to really to make that IP known. Nobody goes to the shelf and says, well, there's this Xbox 360 game, but it's robots and something, and I never heard of it. It's never going to work. Maybe it's the best game in the world. Maybe it wins awards, Editor's Choice. There's all these games over the years that have won fantastic awards, and really a bomb because they just don't resonate with consumers and people aren't aware of them. And so developing IP is a key task for publishers. Finding effective ways to license or get consumer mind share is huge.
Ted, it seems like you're, as an analyst covering this space, that you're in kind of a unique position where you must be looking at, I mean, I assume that you look at the forthcoming titles for the quarter, right? And that's part of the complete picture. So at that point, it seems like you're in a position where you have to kind of evaluate that piece of IP, right? And make some judgment about its value to that company and to their bottom line. Does that sound right?
Yeah, we do. We forecast out by titles and unit sales as far as we can. You don't get a lot of visibility. You might have 12 to 18 months of visibility from the publishers, but not much more than that. So beyond that, it's really a market share assumption that you're making when you're modeling the industry. But 12 months out, yes, you're looking title by title. Sometimes you don't have the full slate even then, but
right.
A lot of the recurring franchises, you're going to make certain assumptions, maybe a certain growth rate year over year. And for new franchises, you try to find some type of comparable, similar franchise that's launched before, but those can really be wild cards. And the interesting thing covering this industry is that the companies really do often, on the stock side, they really trade on some of these new releases that come out.
Right.
If there's upside to a gun or to a Gears of War, to a new IP that comes out, the stocks do react in general. Overall, you're looking for that mix of licensed and original content because it is pretty risky. And I think the publishers more and more, and certainly the other panelists can speak to this, but are feeling pressure to license more IP because of the increasing development costs. At least that's what I've seen is that because you're putting up more capital, it's just a riskier proposition to launch new IP. So there's more pressure to license content, which increases the competition for those licenses, which increases the price of the licenses. So Electronic Arts, for example, when they were feeling pressured by Take-Two, paid $1.2 billion for ESPN and NFL, those two licenses alone. So certainly I think there's upward pressure in the new license area. We'll probably continue to see that over the next couple of years.
If I can add one thing, given that we all agree that there's a lot of value in the franchise and the IP that you own, and it's just so expensive to launch a new IP in the traditional model, particularly given that one is going to fail many times before you have a hit. One of the things that episodic content gives you is the ability to very cheaply go out with individual episodes or maybe 3 or 4 episodes of a new piece of IP and just simply see what the reaction is before you go and make a huge investment in it. And it's very much analogous to television networks putting together pilots and putting them out as balloons and seeing how they work before they go off and make the mega $1 million investment they need to make in order to make these franchises stick and valuable over the long term.